Sir, please together mode to.
How did it turn on? I don't understand. I didn't turn on anything. What is this? We are
Sir, there is a
recording.
together mode.
Okay, forget about it. We have
Recording
got
started.
onto the recording has started, so forget about it. Let's go to the session. Fine. Well, uh, we were discussing on full wave rectifiers. There are two versions. One is the center tap version, other being the bridge rectifier. So in the center tap version, what we are having is this, that is, we are having equal potentials on both the halves, but in reverse polarity. Owing to which, what we observe is this, that in one half cycle, diode D1 is under forward bias with diode D2 under reverse bias. And in the reverse half cycle, diode D2 will be under forward bias and diode D1 under reverse bias. So in one half cycle, we are at least ensured about one thing, that one of the diodes is in forward bias state. So if one of the diodes is in the forward bias state, it is pretty obvious that the current flow direction through this load resistance R, which will effectively give you the rectified outcome, is going to be unipolar. Owing to which the kind of pulsating DC, the kind of ripple, kind of pulsating DC that we are going to observe at the outcome would be of this kind of a nature, where both the half cycles are getting rectified and accordingly you have such a kind of a waveform. Now, what will be the peak value of the waveform? Well, that depends on the fact. If you consider the value of VD, that is the diode voltage drop, to be equal to 0, then the peak value of the output waveform should be Vm. If we consider Vm to be the peak value of the input signal on applicable at in both the halves of the secondary side, or if it is equal to VD is existent practically, which is definitely there. In that case, the peak value is Vm minus Vd, the same as what we have understood earlier. And in the other version, that is the bridge rectifier scenario, what we observe is this, that Vm signal that we are referring to on the secondary side, that is applicable on the entire secondary winding. There is no kind of a plus minus Vm with forward and reverse polarity as which was happening for the secondary winding in the center tap version. So the entire Vm is applicable in the secondary winding, and that is now applicable to this Wheatstone bridge comprising of these four diodes. Now, what we will discuss on this particular Wheatstone bridge and this bridge principle, how it works through. What we ultimately get is this, in the context of bridge rectifier, in one half cycle, two of the diodes connect. I mean, they basically conduct, and the other two diodes remain off. The two conducting diodes which remain on are in series connectivity. So in that sense, if we consider the voltage drop across the diodes, then the voltage drop across it for the two diodes should be equal to 2 into Vd. 2 into Vd. So in effect, what we're going to check later on, the voltage across the load resistance RL, which is not being shown over here when it's connected over at this particular point. So the voltage across load resistance RL should be equal to, if I take up the practical value, should be equal to Vm minus 2Vd. Okay. Now let's quickly get into the full wave rectifier version with the center tap scenario. What I was basically focusing on, the same has been shown over here with this plus minus Vm principle. Look at this polarity plus minus, which indicates in this half cycle, in the forward half cycle, diode D1 is under conduction, diode D2 is reverse bias, so it is open. So in that sense, the forward half cycle gets conducted and the through R current flows, owing to which you are going to have the first half cycle over here at the outcome. Okay. Now you can observe that this is a short, okay, and this is open, indicating the reverse bias. Now if I get to the second half of it, that is the reverse polarity. If you move on to the reverse polarity, as being shown, it shows that the upper diode will be off because it's having the reverse polarity, and the lower diode will be on, indicating a short, considering Vd equals to 0, making the peak value to be equal to Vm. So the reverse polarity segment is this one. So that also gets rectified and it's on the same polarity at the output, because we are observing the output across the load resistance R. And in both the cases, the current flow through the load resistance R is from right to left. the current flow through the load resistance R is from right to left. So hence the polarity is same in both the cases. So effectively the outcome that we're going to observe is an outcome similar to the one on which I have ticked right now. So what is the benefit of this full wave rectification? Benefit is this, that effectively the DC outcome that we're going to observe from this waveform will be of higher value compared to the half wave context. That is the only reason why we definitely go for full wave rectification and avoid half wave rectification in rectifier scenarios or when you are trying to design any kind of a regulator circuit. Okay. Coming to the bridge version of the full wave rectifier. In the bridge version of the full wave rectifier, as you can check on your screen, so this is the input information and this is the combination of diodes. The load resistance has been connected over here. Now you just think in this particular way, when Vi is having the positive half of its conduction with plus on the top and minus at the bottom, as being shown over here, which diodes are effectively going to conduct? The diodes which are effectively going to conduct are D2, according to the orientation of the diode which has been shown, should be D2 and D3. So D2 and D3 will be on in the forward half cycle. So and D1 and D4 will remain off because they will be under reverse bias when the Vi's potential is in the forward half cycle. So D2 and D3 are on. So that has been shown at the bottom over here. So it has been shown that D1 and D4, sorry, these are off and D2 is on, D3 is on. So in effect, the path of the current should be like this. It will flow in this direction, go like this, and like this, and get back over here. So that has been shown in this diagram as well, the path of the current flow. Owing to which the output that you're going to observe across the load resistance should be of this kind of a nature. Now, if you assume that the value of Vd is equal to 0, then the peak value should be equal to Vm. However, as I've already told that if we take up practical values, considering Vd, then the peak value should be equal to Vm minus 2Vd. Okay. The reverse half cycle, obviously the other two diodes will conduct, and in that sense, it's pretty obvious that these two, which were initially on conduction in the reverse half cycle, these two will be open, and this segment, the other two diodes will be in the conduction phase, and that too in series, indicating 2Vd. So that will give up the reverse half cycle counterpart over there, rectified counterpart rather. So if I consider Vd to be equal to 0 as being shown in the diagram, peak value should be equal to Vm, plain and simple. So at the outcome, what we are going to observe, the value of V0 should be of this kind of a nature. So the outcome that we are observing in the context of the bridge rectifier is very much similar to the center tap version. But the question is this, what is the difference between these two rectifiers? The advantage of this, the corresponding first thing that I would like to say is this, that is in what is the disadvantage of bridge rectifier, though that is not that much of a significance at all. Rather we disregard that disadvantage. The disadvantage of bridge rectifier is this, that is we are having two diodes in series when a conduction path is on. However, in the center tap version, we are only having one diode in series with the load resistance. So in effect, the outcome that we are observing, that will be having, if let us say for the center tap version, you should be having the peak value equal to Vm minus Vd, and for and for bridge rectifier it will be Vm minus 2Vd. So in effect, it may seem that the effective outcome is getting reduced across the load resistance for bridge rectifier. But as I have told you, this is very insignificant. If you do not consider this, it won't be of any harm. It is very insignificant because Vd is a very small value, around 0.6 to 0.8 volts at the max for silicon diodes. So that is why this is a very that was a point that I wanted to share with you all. Now coming to the benefit of a bridge rectifier. Now coming to the benefit of a bridge rectifier is this, that in bridge rectifier, the peak inverse voltage that is getting applicable, it is comparable to that of a half wave scenario. However, the peak inverse voltage in the context of a center tap version is almost double of the peak inverse voltage in bridge. Let's check it out. Though I think it's given at the home. Just a minute. Let me show you that one. Is there in a different slide? Right. Just have a look at this waveform. This slide is from a different course, but this will help you to understand the points that I wanted to mention. Please mute your microphone. Please mute your microphone. Okay, thank you. So this is the, I will share this slide portion of which is from a different course, obviously, for in the MS Teams environment as well. Okay, not to worry. Look at the what I was talking about regarding the CentreTap version is clearly given on the screen. Now look at the peak inverse voltage. What is written over here? It's written 2Vs minus Vd. Now here it's Vs is equivalent to Vm, what has been mentioned in the slides which have been prepared for basic electronics. Okay, in this particular slide. Let me get to this one. So what are we observing? Effectively, it indicates that the peak inverse voltage for the CentreTap version is 2Vm minus Vd. It's basically equal to 2Vm, sorry. It's basically equal to, if we follow our original slide, which we have with us, it is equal to 2Vm minus Vd. The same has been quoted over here as 2Vs minus Vd in this slide information, separate issue. Now, this is the disadvantage. How we are getting this 2Vm minus Vd? That is the point to be understood. Look at it, it's clearly mentioned. So when let us say the diode D2 is under reverse bias, what will happen? That is in the reverse half cycle. The reverse potential across diode D2 is basically V0 plus Vs. What does it mean? Effectively, it means the cathode end potential is higher than the diode end, anode end. So it's basically V0. What is the peak value? I'm talking about the peak value. So what is the peak value for V0? If I take a Vm into consideration, peak value of V0 is Vm minus Vd. True. Now, what is the potential at the anode end of D2? It is equal to minus Vm. So Vm minus Vd minus of minus Vm. Vm minus Vd, Vm minus Vd minus of minus Vm. This is the effective. This is effectively equal to exactly. This is effectively the potential across the diode D2, the peak potential in the reverse scale. Due to which, and because in the scale in which the D2 is not under conduction. So in effect, it means that is the reverse peak potential is 2Vm minus Vd across the diode D2. Similar comments are applicable in the other half cycle when the diode D1.
Why you did minus of minus Vm?
So please explain again explain this in a short.
That's what I said later on. Look, what is the peak potential across the diode resistance R? Sorry, across load resistance R, the peak potential is Vm minus Vd. That is at the cathode end of the diode. Now we are talking about the anode end of the diode. Sorry, 1 second. We are talking about the anode end of the diode. So what is the anode end peak potential? It is equal to minus Vm. Think from the point of view of potential. What is the potential? It is equal to minus Vm. Look at the potential distribution for Vs in the lower half winding. In the
We are taking CentreTap as 0 voltage.
CentreTap is 0 voltage, but the point, look at this, it's in the reverse potential. So owing to which the anode end of D2 in the reverse half cycle should be having the potential equal to minus Vm. Simple. And the cathode end is having Vm minus Vd. In effect, the potential across the diode under reverse bias should be equal to 2Vm minus Vd, the description of which is clearly mentioned over here. So in that sense, what we can understand is this, that the CentreTap version is having the peak inverse voltage of the order of 2 into Vm. Now this is a very crucial thing. I will tell it. Okay. Now look at this part. Look at this bridge rectifier scenario now. In the bridge rectifier scenario, now if you are considering, let us say D1 and D2 is in the conduction in series in the 1/2 cycle, then D3 and D4 are in reverse phase, and these are open. Now let us say our point of view is the peak inverse voltage for the diode, because it is inverse clearly mentioned, which is not in conduction phase. So D3 and D4, these are not in conduction phase. What is the peak inverse voltage in the reverse phase in which it is not in conduction? So if I take into account, say, as being mentioned over here, if I take into account D3, what is the potential? Reverse phase mean VA. What does reverse potential mean? If I take up the positive end to be the cathode, because I am talking about reverse minded. and negative to be the anode. Talking about reverse, try to focus on this. That is minus to plus. Minus plus, this is plus. Sorry, this is plus what is this side is plus, this side is minus for the load resistance R. For D2, this side is plus, this side is minus. But for D3, under reverse potential, the cathode end is plus, anode end is minus. Under reverse potential, repeat. Now, if I consider this particular loop in which we have R, D2 and D3, the lower half, I'm talking about this lower half. If I consider this lower half loop, then in effect, what is the loop equation over there? So VD3 should be equal to VD2 plus V0. So in that sense, it means that is whatever is the peak potential across the load resistance RB, that should be equal to Vm minus 2 VD. Sorry. Just a minute. Just a minute. So what are we talking about is this, that the potential across the resistor R, that is load resistance, peak potential should be equal to Vm minus 2 VD. It's written over here Vs according to this discussion. It should be equal to Vm minus 2 VD. Vm minus 2 VD is given over here. And what is the potential, peak potential across D2 under conduction phase? Obviously peak is the same as normal potential of a diode. That is equal to Vd, the cut-in potential, Vd. So in that sense, what is the value of these two? You add up Vm minus 2 VD with Vd. You add up Vm minus 2 VD with this Vd factor. So what is the outcome? Outcome is equal to Vm minus Vd. Outcome is Vm minus Vd. So the peak inverse voltage across the non-conducting diode is Vm minus Vd. So obviously this is a very big advantage in the bridge rectifier context. We want the peak inverse voltage to be lower, not on the higher end. Because if you have a peak inverse voltage at the higher end, there is every chance that it may cross the breakdown zone of the diode. If it crosses the breakdown zone of the diode in the reverse phase will come into conduction and the entire process will fail. So that is the thing. We do not want the reverse conduction of the diode applicable, right? So in that sense, what we can say is this, the bridge rectifier is definitely a beneficial design compared to the full wave rectifier context. Okay. And the waveforms, though it's being shown in this case in a different way, but this is the practical scenario which we'll observe in a CRO. If you observe the waveforms on a CRO, you will observe the waveform, the one that has been shown with blue line. For the case of center tap version, with Vm minus Vd to be the peak. And for the bridged version, it is with Vm minus 2 Vd to be the peak, this kind of waveform, the blue line I'm talking about, for the corresponding rectifier outcome. So these are the outcomes that we're going to observe in effect for the bridge rectifier and the center tap version. Okay. And let me just check whether it is there in that slide. Okay, I will take up the filter version from this different courses slide. Okay. Though it's given in this slide as well, but a better detail has been given in that slide. Okay, I will share that slide with all of you. Now let's try to think about what are the parameters for the case of full wave rectification. So similarly, if you have IL to be equal to Im sin omega t, where omega t is equal to 0 as the one as we have already seen, should be with omega t greater than equal to 0, less than equal to pi, it should be equal to Im sin omega t. Obviously, from pi to 2 pi also, because it is full wave, it should follow the same waveform. It should be Im sin omega t only, because both the half cycles are getting rectified. Fine. Now coming to the fact, what is the DC value of the load current? So if you wish to find out DC value of the load current, how do you get into that? If you look into the expression, it's pretty obvious that it is explicitly correct to conduct the integration between 0 to pi with 1 by pi, because we are having identical information. If I take up sinusoidal waveform to be more appropriate, if it is not a sinusoidal waveform, then it's a different story altogether. As we are taking a sinusoidal waveform with both halves being completely symmetrical, that is why it is pretty justifiable to take into account 1 by pi 0 to pi. Otherwise, you have to go for 1 by 2 pi 0 to 2 pi. Mind it. Just because it is a sinusoidal waveform with both the halves carrying equivalent information, Okay, that's why it's correct to conduct 1 by pi 0 to pi Im sin omega t d omega t has been shown on your screen to find out the value of the average current. Okay, so if you carry out this integration, ultimately the outcome that you are going to observe is 2 Im by pi. Similarly, if you wish to find out what is the RMS value of the load current, here also we can conduct, but this time we are putting in the form 0 to 2 pi 1 by 2 pi. So if I put it in this particular way and you can carry out the integration, you can check it out that the value that comes into account will be equal to Im by root 2. It was Im by 2 for the case of half wave. It is Im by root 2 for the case of full wave. So obviously we can directly conclude that the values are higher end over there. Similarly for 2 Im by pi, Im by pi as well.
Sir,
So
why
why we
are
have
we
taken
taking 2 pi
2 pi
for
by the
RMS? It will be
Look,
pi.
no.
Yeah, I think
Look.
so if we take pi, there is no much difference. I think so.
pi has to be taken, right, sir?
You can write both. Correct? Okay. Any
The
confusion?
cycle is of pi.
No, sir.
Cycle is of 0 to pi. You can write both. Fine.
Okay, sir.
Because both are positive, pi 0 to pi and pi to 2 pi.
Fine. Fine. As it has been given in this parent presentation, so I mentioned the same. You can follow because it's basically symmetrical. If it is not symmetrical, as I mentioned, then in that case, the picture has to be by 1 by 2 pi, 0 to 2 pi. If it is not symmetrical, just because it is symmetrical, you can go for 1 by pi, 0 to pi as well. Next.
Sir,
About the
sir, won't the second part of the current be minus Im sin omega t because the sine part will be negative in the
No. It is about, we are talking about the load current. Load current is unipolar. So there is no question of having any minus.
Okay.
Both halves will be
current.
rectified. Okay, output current.
Sin omega t will just
Coming to the ripple factor. Now in the ripple factor, if I'm simply following the definition of the ripple factor that we have gone through in the context of half wave. The same definition has been followed. If you check the expression, it's very clear. And putting up the values, what we have already got through earlier, putting those values into the context, the ripple factor comes to be equal to 0.48. So obviously ripple factor in the context of full wave shows less than 50%. It's more than 50% fall. It's 1.21 for half wave and it is only 0.48 for full wave. So we are at the better end. Fine. Talking about the form factor, IRMS by average. So this in this case is equal to 1.11. If you can recall, the value of the form factor in half wave was 1.57. Here it is 1.11. Obviously on the better side.
Coming.
Yes.
How I am coming?
I didn't get your question. Can you please repeat?
I average.
how average. I average is coming. Process.
I average is the same as IDC. So we are just putting the value of IDC or I average, that is 2 Im by pi, into the equation and got the answer. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Next. Now coming to the peak inverse voltage, the thing that I have already discussed with all of you. In short, as I mentioned, that in the context of center tap, the peak inverse voltage of the order of 2 Vm. For the context of bridge, it's of the order of Vm. Obviously, in the case of Vm, it will be better because this is a very crucial requirement that we have to maintain. PIV should be less than the breakdown voltage. And lastly, getting into the rectification efficiency for full wave rectifiers, if I take into account, then just putting up the equation into the context, that is the value of eta, the thing that we have done earlier as well in the context of half wave. If you put so, the ultimate outcome shows around 81% rectification. So if you can observe, it was around 40% in the context of half wave. Here it is around 81%, double almost. Okay.
40.6, sir.
40.6, so it's double. So coming to filter circuits. So I would like to say one thing that it's better if you do not take up this slide. And I mean, I should put a cross over here. I should not put a tick. Please do not consider this slide, though the diagrams and all, whatever has been mentioned over here is perfectly fine. The only wrong information probably which has been kept in the slide is putting up this capacitor C in series with this load resistance RL. This is not the true picture. Actually, capacitor C should be in parallel with load resistance RL. C should be in parallel with load resistance RL, not in series. Okay, but the fact is this. I should not say it's completely wrong because when you talk about center tap version, this is at the ground potential. This point is at the ground potential. So this is also at the ground potential. So from that angle, what we can say, when the conduction gets into the action,
They are
then
parallel.
RL and C are in parallel. So in that sense, it is correct. But it's better to take up a clear representation from our point of view. So this kind of a representation may confuse some of you. So it's better to avoid this kind of representation. But the diagram is not wrong. The diagram is correct. It's not wrong. But still, I would like to follow the other presentation slide. If you don't follow this one, I will follow the other one. Okay, which I'm having for the other course. Okay, just a minute. Fine. I'll be just discussing the relevant portions regarding the filter circuit, which is applicable in the context of basic electronics. The other halves I will not discuss. It's a part of analog electronics. Okay. Look at this particular circuit. Have a look at this particular circuit. This circuit clearly shows you the idea that you are having a potential Vi being applicable at the input of the diode, and the diode is driving a parallel combination of R and C. The diode is driving a parallel combination of R and C, where the current to the charging current to the capacitor C is equal to IC, and the load current to the resistor R is equal to IL, and the diode current is ID. So in effect, it means when the operation goes on, it means ID in the conducting phase of the diode. When the diode is under conduction, ID should be equal to IC plus IL. And it's clearly mentioned, it's basically indicating the instantaneous quantities. Okay. And the kind of a design which has been displayed on the screen currently, okay, you can observe that this kind of a design is explicitly indicating a half wave rectification only. Because if you have to put up a full wave rectifier, you have to connect two diodes and accordingly go for parallel combination of R and C. That's it. That is, wherever you have kept the resistor R in full wave rectification, if I take this old one, if I take the old slide into discussion, if I take up, let's say, bridge rectifier, in the bridge rectifier, if you want to put up a capacitor for better rectification context, what you have to do is this: you have to connect a capacitor in parallel with this resistance R. You have to put up a capacitor over here. You have to put a capacitor with a capacitance value equal to C. Now, what that capacitance value of C should be, that I will tell you, but you have to put up a capacitor in parallel with resistance R to get a better rectified outcome. That is all about filter circuits, in short, regarding the construction. Now coming to the justification, which I will go through from this slide. Now, what kind of, I will not take into discussion too much about, I will not take into discussion this lower one. I will only take into discussion the upper one. Okay. Now look at the waveform. What is it trying to indicate to all of us? It's trying to show the fact that Vi is actually this black colored line. As you can check out, this is the Vi information, sinusoidal information, and the blue colored outcome is effectively indicating the output voltage because it's mentioned over here to be equal to V0. Okay. Now what is V0? V0 is the potential that we are observing across the load resistance R. So across load resistance R, we are observing the outcome V0. Now you just think about the fact when we were not having the capacitive unit into action, what was V0 equal to? If I take into account the waveform of V0, it was one entire half cycle of the input waveform. It was one entire half cycle of the input waveform. But if you can check on your screen, you can observe that it is not one entire half cycle of the input waveform. It is only the blue colored line clearly being shown on your screen. It is only the blue colored line. So what does it really, how it happens, I will explain. Point is, what is the benefit? What is the immediate benefit which is clearly evident to all of us? Immediate benefit is this, that the rectified outcome is far better. It's all because of the fact that the DC value will definitely rise compared to the case when the rectified outcome is having one entire half cycle. Too much amount of pulsating information is there in the outcome when there is no capacitor. But the amount of pulsating information following the blue line is very less compared to the case when we don't have any capacitor. So the outcome will be a better rectified outcome, giving a higher value, much higher value for the DC level. Okay. Now coming to the fact, how is this thing really occurring? Now, if we just think about the operation of the circuit, how does it go through? We have the input information Vi. So on the forward half cycle, When think of, just don't try to think from the point of view of the very beginning. The diagram which has been shared over here at the bottom, I mean this particular diagram, this diagram is showing you the general outcome waveform. Don't try to specialize. Try to think from the general point of view. What would happen generally? I will tell, starting from the beginning itself, obviously. So when we're having the VI information in the forward half cycle, what will happen? The diode D will be in the conduction phase. So ID will flow. So what in effect will happen? The capacitor C will be charging off fast. Then we'll having very fast charging of the corresponding capacitor. The capacitor will charge off. So once the capacitor gets charged off to a particular level, what is that particular level? When it attains the peak value of the input waveform. Or in other words, if we consider, let's say VD equals to 0, then it is equal to VM. That is VC becomes equal to VM. Sorry. E becomes equal to VM if we basically disregard the VD part, and if we include the VD part, it should be equal to VM minus VD. VM minus VD, because it's talking about normal rectification from the half wave context. So VM minus VD. So VC should be equal to VM or VM minus D, depending on ideal or practical context of application. Fine. Now the point is this: once VC attains that level of voltage, what is going to happen? The diode will immediately go through reverse bias, because the potential VI is going to be for the other half. So it's now going to fall from the peak potential of VM. So once it starts to fall from the peak potential of VM or VM minus VD, definitely the cathode end of the diode will be exhibiting a higher potential compared to the anode end of the diode. In effect, what it means the diode is under reverse bias. It will not conduct any further. So once that conduction is I repeat, when the VI information, which is the input information, is being portrayed in the corresponding circuit, okay, and we assume that the VI information is equal to, say, VM sine omega t. VI is equal to VM sine omega t. Very simple. Now VM is the peak value. Now if I consider that there is no, let us say VD is equal to 0. Let us say we consider VD equal to 0 to make the matter simple. So what will be the peak attainment of VC? What will be the peak attainment of the potential across VC? That should be equal to VM, because it will charge to that particular potential. So once it attains the potential VM, what's going to happen? The VI now it's going to fall beyond VM. It's going to have in the next time point only, at the very next time point after VM, the potential at the anode end of diode D will fall below VM. It will come under VM. So when it comes under VM, immediately the diode will be in the reverse bias mode. So once the diode is in the reverse bias mode, it means the diode is no more conducting. So if the diode is no more conducting, what's going to happen? There is no diode current. Now what will now happen to the capacitor?
No, sir, this point only. Sir, when it will attain a lower value than VM, then still it is in forward bias, no, sir, because it is still
Yes,
decreasing. It has not reached the x-axis of the graph.
Let me finish. I will tell everything, not to worry. Look, when the value of this VC is attaining the value of VM, what is the value of VI over here? Here also it is equal to VM. Fine, it is fine, it's in conduction. And that is the verge of conduction. It will now move into non-conduction phase. Now the value of VM will be slightly less than VM at the very next time point. But across the capacitor C, the potential which has got developed is VM. So the cathode end of the diode is at VM, but the anode end of the diode is less than VM. So how can the diode conduct? There is no point of conduction, that there is no chance of conduction of the corresponding diode. The diode will immediately switch to the non-conduction phase.
Understood.
So once the diode switches to non-conduction phase, what would happen? Now what will happen is this: the capacitor C, now it is holding some potential, it's holding some charge, but there is some path for the car. Obviously, the capacitor is now having a path to discharge its potential. What is the path? Definitely it cannot follow diode path, because the diode is under reverse bias, it's open. So what is the only path it can follow through? It can flow through the resistance arm. So that is the benefit which is getting explored to get the higher value of DC. Just this discharging principle. The discharging principle in the filter circuit, that is why it's called a filter circuit. You're applying a filter and going for a higher level of DC. filtration or a low, actually filter by we mean over here low pass filtration, getting into low end frequencies. The more straight line you attain, more close to the more close the waveform is towards DC, it means the lower the frequency is. So by filter we mean over here low pass filter. We are passing low end frequencies. So that is the ultimate thing, that is the ultimate motto of the corresponding design. So the capacitor C is going to get discharged to the resistor R. Now when it starts discharging to the resistor R, what would effectively happen? Obviously the voltage will fall. Pretty obvious, the voltage is going to fall. Now when the voltage falls off, at the same point of time, Vi is also falling, and accordingly Vi is also trying to get back to that old potential. It's basically a sinusoidal waveform, right? So what is going to happen? At some point, again, the anode end of the diode will attain a potential which is higher than the cathode end of the diode. And immediately the diode will switch back from the non-conduction phase to the conduction phase, and the capacitor will again move to the charging phase. This idea has been explored in the bottom diagram. In the general scenario, within the dotted lines in this segment, within this dotted segment, this part, these parts of the waveform indicate the conduction phase. And the portion in which we are having from the peak value of this, from this peak to this, just below this peak, there is a blue line, and we are following this blue line. Sorry, we are following this particular blue line, right? So this blue line is indicating what? The discharging phase. So in effect, the outcome.
Charging of capacitor has some equation in exponential equation. So it is not the graph for exponential decrease.
This is a representation. Okay. This is not, it shows to be more or less a linear, but it is having an exponential pattern only. Obviously, whatever you're stating is perfectly fine, but it is why it is shown to be very much linear, I will tell you about that. Okay. Now here the point is this, that the discharge which is happening, it's shown to be something like this in between the corresponding peaks. Now, so it means what? The outcome blue waveform, that is. Please don't interfere. I will tell everything. No need to worry. If you have any question, ask at the end. Okay. Now, the point is, when we are having this kind of waveform, it means what? It is basically a combination of conduction of the diode with the non-conduction phase. So conduction in the small portion followed by non-conduction, conduction followed by non-conduction, conduction followed by non-conduction, and in general form, it will be having an elevated level for the output waveform. And effectively, we are going to have a high level of DC. Fine. Okay. Now coming to the aspect of this discharging and all. Now over here, what we are interested in is this, that if we want to, let us say, if you observe the waveform, what is the immediate thing that comes up in our mind? The immediate thing is this, that we want to have a higher level for the DC. So obviously, if you want to have a higher level for the corresponding DC, the waveform, and accordingly a higher DC level, what should be our ultimate motto? Ultimate motto should be this, that the output should have as minimum ripple as possible. It should have as minimum ripple as possible, or minimum possible pulsating waveform at the output. So that is the ultimate motto. So in other words, it means that in the discharging phase, it should not be like this, that it has got a very chance of discharging with maintaining a very steep slope. Because let us say, if it is having a steep slope like this, the one that I have drawn with the red colored line over here, it is having a discharging phase like this. What is going to happen? Obviously, the outcome will be far more pulsating. It will be more pulsating compared to the one which is currently given on the screen, the blue line. So we should be trying to avoid that level of discharging in which this kind of waveform does not come into action. So we should be careful about the charging, the corresponding CR time constant of the circuit designed in that particular mode. Okay. So it means we know that any capacitive component, when it is being charged or discharged, it's going to follow a exponential nature. Now we get into that equation, but prior to that, if we look into this representation over here, that is, it's mentioned like the peak value is equal to Vp according to the representation being given over here. If I consider ripple to be equal to Vr, okay, ripple to be equal to Vr. So it means in effect, the average output we take into account, average output is equal to what? Vp minus Vr by 2. I'm talking about the average output for the blue line. Okay, this is Vp and this is Vr. So this potential will be Vp minus Vr. The point at which the conduction again starts off for the diode, maintaining the principle that we have discussed. So the average value for the outcome should be Vp minus Vr by 2. Fine. The load current should be equal to Vp by R. That's also fine. Now coming to the equations, I'm not going to get through all the equations. I'm going to discuss about this one. I mean, mainly about step 1, because this is the part that we are interested in basic electronics. That's it. Okay. Now, if you look at the output waveform, how should it work out? It should work out like V0 is equal to Vp e to the power minus T by Cr. It indicates what? That it is indicating an exponential discharge. So an exponential discharge, the capacitor is going to get effective. Now, now my point is this, we want the discharge to be such that it should have a slow discharging. It should not have a very fast discharging with a very sharp slope. It should have a very shallow slope. The slope of the discharging cycle should be very shallow. So it means the value of CR, C into R, the time constant of the corresponding circuit design, C into R, should be maintaining this idea. CR should be far greater than capital T. If we maintain that particular aspect, then we can more or less put it like this, that at the discharging end, where I mean at the other end of the discharging, I mean talking about this particular point, this point, which is equal to Vp minus Vr, we can write the equation as at the end of discharge interval, Vp minus Vr is approximately equal to Vp e to the power minus capital T by Cr. Approximately. Cr is far greater than T, that is fine. That's a basic thing that we have to maintain. I mean, the value of Cr should be designed in such a way, C into R, that is, you have to take a combination of CRR in such a way so that it should be maintaining this essential thing. Otherwise, this circuit will not operate. You have to understand what is the time period of the input waveform. You have to know what is the value of C into R. Then you can move into the corresponding circuit operation. Otherwise, it may be a complete disaster. Okay. So now, approximately what we can say is this: Vp minus Vr is equal to this idea. And if Cr is far greater than capital T, what should that lead to? It should lead to the idea that Vp, this is equal to Vp into 1 minus T by Cr. Maintaining a linearity. If Cr is far greater than T, and if you just approximate it, ultimately you get this kind of an outcome, that Vr is equal to Vp by FCr. So this is the ripple magnitude that you observe from the context of half wave. That is the only thing that is sufficient to be understood from the point of view of basic electronics. Rest part is not required at this particular point of time. Okay. Now this is the case which has been shown for the corresponding case of full wave. We are almost at the end of the discussion. We can take up questions now. Now, if we look into full wave, this was half wave, mind it. This was half wave, and you can observe the waveform over here. The reverse half cycle is not being taken into consideration, right? Reverse half cycle is not being taken into consideration anywhere because it is half wave. Now here we're talking about full wave. So reverse half cycle is into consideration. So CR is following the same idea. That is the corresponding whatever value of CR you have designed, the same thing is being followed over here. So this is the particular case for the case of full wave, and the value of VR which comes into effect because now it is becoming equal to T by 2. It's no more T, capital T, it's T by 2. So in that sense, it gets VR becomes equal to VP by 2 FCR.
Sir.
Now you can place your questions. Fine.
Sir, what is the F indicates here?
Yeah, F indicates 1 by T. F indicates 1 by T. F 1 by T.
So F is the frequency, sir.
F is the frequency.
Okay, sir. Okay.
In the half wave rectifier,
Please again explain that
the concern
voltage part across resistance in full wave rectifier.
interval is very small.
Just a minute. What did you ask? The earlier person, please. What did you ask?
Voltage across resistor in full wave rectifier.
Standard full wave rectifier.
Yes sir, bridge वाले केस में voltage कैसे निकाली थी across resistor?
Then I have to go
So
back
peak
to the
inverse voltage in standard
Yes,
full
sir.
wave
peak
rectifier.
inverse voltage. Oh, be specific. Which you are talking about? Yeah.
Yes sir, ये VS minus है.
Sure. Why not? Look, when we're talking about the forward half cycle of conduction, then D1 and D2, if you follow the diagram, are in conduction. D1, there's so many lines interfering. D1 and D2, these two are in conduction. D3 and D4 are in reverse phase. They are open. Now the point is this: when D3 and D4 are open, indicating the reverse half cycle with cathode end being maintained at a higher potential compared to anode end. So we can put it like this: a circuit, something like this, with positive potential at the cathode end, negative potential at the anode end for D3. Because D3 is in the reverse phase, it's non-conduction. Now think about the loop comprising D3, D2 and R, load resistance R. Now, if you think about this loop and think about current conduction, standard KVL principle being applicable in this loop, what is the outcome? Outcome is this is minus, I mean the anode end is minus, cathode end is plus, reverse half cycle I'm talking about for D3. So minus to plus. Think about the current flow in this in the anti-clockwise direction in the lower loop. So minus to plus for D3, plus to minus for R, plus to minus for D2. So it means what? The D3 is acting like a voltage source, acting like a voltage source, and R and D2 are the driven components from the corresponding voltage source. So according from our KVL principle, we can directly say that VD3 is equal to V0 plus VD2. VD3 is equal to V0 plus VD2, where the value of V0 in the peak context is equal to Vm minus 2Vd. Vm minus 2Vd is the value across R in the peak scenario.
I got it.
And Vd is the one for D2. So Vdm minus 2Vd plus Vd gives you Vm minus Vd. So next question, please.
So in half wave rectifier,
One by one. Yes, half wave.
Half wave rectifier, conduction time is very small. Charging time of the capacitor.
Oh, coming back to the filter. Okay. Now, the point is this, that the conduction time that you are getting, the conduction time of the corresponding diode and all, that is equivalent, because ultimately half wave and full wave, they do not have any significant difference. Look at the fact. There is no difference apart from the fact that is you are having a design where a center tapped or bridge. Look, it's going to have the conduction of the, if I consider one half cycle of the waveform, in one half cycle of the waveform, input waveform, only one diode is conducting in half wave, only one diode is conducting in center tapped, and two diodes are conducting in bridge. That's the only difference. Otherwise, principle wise, everything is same. In one half cycle. The time, okay, in general, your question was different. I didn't get it properly. In general, this conduction interval delta t is extremely small. Extremely small. That's why it's mentioned delta t, and the kind of waveforms I didn't discuss because it's not there in the course. This is the part which is of relevance to make you understand that the delta t is very small, and accordingly the kind of diode current that we observe is something like this, an exponential high on the corresponding diode current, where we have the charging. It's mentioned over here ID. There is not something to say about it. I'm not getting into that discussion right now because it's not relevant to our context.
Sir, one thing in the equation part, which you have written, Vp minus Vr is approximately equal to Vp into e to the power minus capital T by Rc. Sir, how this capital T comes? We have the first equation as V not equal to that equation. So
can you please repeat your question? You didn't get it properly. Yeah.
Sir, the first equation we have V naught equal to Vp e to the power minus T by Rc. So this is the general equation for the discharging potential. So sir, at the end, how it is equal to?
Okay, yeah, I got it. I got it. Okay. Point is this: when what is the value of V naught at the end of the discharging interval? at the end of the discharging interval, that is at this particular point, at this point, when again the conduction starts off. I mean the point where the T1, we are considering T1, the point T1. Okay. So at that particular point, we are having this next phase of start of conduction. So what is the potential across V naught at that particular point of time? Because C and R in capital, C and R are in parallel. The potential is Vp minus Vr. Fine. So V left hand half is very clear. Coming to the right hand half. In the right hand half, we are having Vp e to the minus small t by capital Cr. What has been changed over here is this. We have kept the same Vp because obviously it's getting discharged from the peak value only Vp. If considering Vd equals to 0, if Vd is existent, then it should be Vp minus Vd. Okay. Considering Vd equals to 0, so we have Vp e to the power of minus capital T by Cr. Now here, the fact is this, that this T1 to T2, as I mentioned, this delta T is extremely small. It's a very extremely small interval. So it has been approximated that the time of discharge is almost close to capital T. Got my point?
Yes,
It is
Oh,
just an
sir.
approximate.
Okay, sir. Got
Or
it.
approximated.
So it has been negative.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So then that sense we have
Sir,
capital
here Vp
mi-
equals to
and then we
Vm
go for
in ideal
linearity.
case.
And then we go for linearity. Yeah.
Sir, here Vp equals to Vm in ideal case.
Yes. Maybe I have gone for different notations because this is a different slide for a different course altogether.
Yes, sir.
Here, our point is Vp equals to Vm. It is equal to Vm.
Sir, delta T should be much less than capital T. So how
Obviously, insignificant. It should be insignificant compared to capital T.
Yes, sir. Then how you have replaced delta T with capital T, sir? I don't
I have
understand.
look, I have not replaced delta T with capital T. I have replaced small t with capital T. Small t is a general time interval and delta T is the conduction time interval. Delta T and small t are different things. Small t is a general equation indicating the time interval and delta T is just the conduction time interval, which is very small.
Oh, okay, sir. Matlab, small t is equals to t plus capital T plus delta T, and we have ignored delta T.
Small t is just a general notation. Equation, just a general notation equation for indicating the discharging cycle of any capacitor and all.
Okay.
Small t in that sense, general time. And this small t is equivalent to capital T if we consider delta T to be very small. That's the thing that has been assumed. And accordingly, from the linearity principle, we can put it like the one has been shown over here. And look at this one, very important thing, that in this case it is Vp by FCR, and in this case it is Vp by 2FCR, indicating ripple will be less. Yeah.
Sir, shared, these pages are not present.
I know that. I will share this thing. No need to worry. Whatever is this thing is not there. I know that very well. Let's start.
Okay, sir.
Sir, one thing. How can we note, sir, for this presentation?
I hope I will share everything. Not to worry. Let me take your attendance once. I will stop the recording because you already have a class. Let me stop the recording.
Already started, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Take class in